Hello there, Hero Club. I am Wheelchair 21, and I am joined by Soundout 12. And once again, we promised we would have him back, and he's here. It's everyone's favorite host of Ultraman Connection. It is everyone's favorite member of the Max team. It is Sean Nichols.
Hello, once again. Good to be back. Thanks for having me. And as always, I find your interest and questions always very probing and insightful, way more than most people. So I'm really excited to hear what you have in store for me this time.
And I know I even asked you like a couple of days before, would you like to see the questions in advance? And you were like, yeah, okay, let me see these, because we went back and rewatched the show since it's now out available on DVD. It's no longer on Crunchyroll, but it's on DVD. It's going to go to Tokusatsu 2B. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. But there will be spoilers in this because we're going to be talking in depth. We promised you guys last time we wouldn't do as much spoilers. There's spoilers this time. And also, good thing about this, though, I will say about this set, I really do like the fact that Mill Creek does in the booklets actually give you writer and director, because that actually helped with some of these questions. Also, I want to point this thing out. So they go through this, right? They show you like Max and Xenon and all the stuff, and they show you all the cool stuff that your team used in the show. And it shows Ellie as one of the devices that, like, because she is an android, obviously. But
yes, well, there's a funny story with Ellie, and I don't want to step on some of the questions you're going to ask me later.
Okay.
But yes, Ellie is a device.
Yes.
So yeah.
But I do find it funny that a lot of the other books I think showed some of the other actors, but that it's just Ellie, and I'm like, where's Sean? And then I even
looked listed right next to the car. It's like, it's just another thing you have sitting at the base.
And then I went through all the episodes. I went through every episode to see if it mentioned any other characters by name, and it mostly only says Toma and Max. It doesn't really refer to Sean. It doesn't refer to Koba. It doesn't refer to Mizuki. It like just says Kaito. Toma Kaito has to do this, and I was like, man, that's brief.
Yeah. Well, he's the hero, so we got to put his due, right? Yes.
I know. Even when it's your episode, it still says him.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you do at least have an episode. There is one episode that's technically about you, like doing stuff, and we'll get to that one. But we're gonna talk a lot about that, and we're just gonna see how many we can answer in the time allotted. So
cool.
I guess we'll answer with the first one, which is actually more of a catch up. But you went to Anime Expo. I think it was last year or the year before.
Yep, last year.
It was last year.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's a blur to me, man. But so, what was your experience to like going to Anime Expo, doing the whole, interacting with fans and like the search for Ultraman kind of stuff? And what are any stories you want to share from that event?
Right. Well, okay. So first of all, it was a really great Anime Expo to go to because it was the first one they had in like 3 years because of COVID, right? So it was crazy. Everyone showed up. The fire department had to block people from coming in because there were so many people trying to get in there. And it was interesting because, technically Ultraman traditionally is not an anime, right? Although we use the fact that, Netflix has the Ultraman anime series. By the way, the final series of that is now available. I don't know if you've checked that out yet, but anyway, if all the people watching this, check that out. It's a pretty interesting take on Ultraman. So that was sort of the entree to get Ultraman into the Anime Expo. And of course, while we were there, we did our best to, kind of try to catch everyone up on the last 55, 56 years of what's been going on Ultraman, because it is one of the longest running, IP in the history of the world, right? So it's something that the US hasn't really had a chance to see because of some, licensing rights issues that were going on with Tsuburaya and some other companies. And now those are all fixed. And so we're completely open to building this brand, building this IP in the US now, and opening it up to all the people who missed out on it the last 20 years. So it was really exciting to get a chance to do that. And the reception was great. Everyone loves seeing Ultraman and his, he's the, when he shows up at Anime Expo, he's the ultimate cosplayer, right? I mean, he's got like the suit. He's exactly the thing, 100%. So it was cool. Everyone lined up to get pictures with all the different Ultramen, and it was exciting to see their response. Every venue that we spoke in was completely booked, totally packed, and I was pleasantly surprised to see such a great reception.
And I also think that was the first time you actually got to meet Mr. Gomez in person, if I recall.
That's
last time we
true.
talked, you said you didn't actually interact with him yet directly.
Exactly. I mean, during COVID, I never left Japan, and we had dozens of meetings on Zoom, but finally got to meet him in person too. So that was cool.
Yeah, I know that during the panel there was the infamous drop kick to Bemulur. Ultraman became a meme. That thing shot off like a firecracker.
Well, now I don't know if you know the backstory behind even that.
No.
Was okay. So it's great that you don't know. Let's put it that way. But what happened is right in the middle of the stage show, there was a technical error and everything went black.
Okay.
Technically, it went white. Weirdly, like the screen went pure white, and the two poor suit actors, as we call them, who were out there on stage with no special effects, no sound, no background. They just decided to keep fighting, and then the one did the drop kick that became the meme, you know. So it was
that's great improv right there. Like, what are we gonna do? The effects are gone. I'm gonna kick you. Okay.
Yes.
that's incredible.
But you know, it kind of shows that these guys, I mean, these guys are like amazing. They are, I mean, the consummate professionals at what they do. You know, they're I mean, I've worked with them many times, so I've gotten to know them really well. And you know, the training that they've gone through, it's years. You know, like Tsuburaya actually brings these folks in as, you know, young whippersnappers. I mean, not super young. I mean, they're all graduated high school at least, and trains them over the course of years to get to this point where they can finally get in front of audiences and even go overseas and train other local people to do the same thing. So it's a great kind of, you know, process that Tsuburaya has developed over the years.
All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of the, you know, newfound global audience, like it's always growing bigger since we started getting stuff simulcast and released on, you know, DVD, Blu-ray. Is that added to the excitement in the franchise in Japan as well? Like has like you seen fans or other co-stars just like so delighted that this door has been opened? Like, what's your experience with that?
You know, Japan is kind of funny in a certain way. It's a little insular in that sense that probably the typical Japanese fan doesn't even know what's going on outside and like globally. You know, I mean, it's there's two reasons for that. One is that Ultraman is such a ingrained part of the culture here in Japan that probably everyone in Japan just thinks it's so obvious that Ultraman must be everywhere else in the world, right? So they don't even think that this is something new or, you know, something that the world has been missing. And also that they're probably really focused on what they're doing here rather than looking out at what's popular in the world. So not really, to be honest with you, not a whole lot of difference, but yeah, but it's cool for me. I mean, I know, and the cast knows, because now suddenly when I was in Max, we never did anything outside of Japan. It was always focused on the Japan fans, the Japan audience, you know, live shows for Japanese only. But now we're getting interview requests from Malaysia, from the US, from Europe. And so they kind of realize, wow, this is maybe bigger than it used to be globally. So I know for a fact that they do it, because I often will have to be the one who's with them doing the translations for them on the fly, because not a lot of them are really good at English. So I mean, they all speak English a little bit.
Yeah.
They're better than they think they are, but you know, I just help them out and make sure that.
I mean, one of these days you'll pull through and get that one that you've been asking for a while for us.
Well, yeah. Well, it's coming.
I hope. I hope, because you were like, she wants to do it, but she can't. We're not going to say which ones, but you know it's a she now, everyone. But yeah. I can't wait, because I have so many questions for this person.
Yeah. We'll get it.
Exactly. Hopefully. All right.
So
Yes.
speaking to translations, speaking to the global outreach of Ultraman,
Yeah.
we know that you worked on the Shin Ultraman subtitles,
Yeah.
and from now that we're talking about how that movie has gone so far, like it's those subtitles have gone with that movie to every
Yeah.
screening, and it's hitting Blu-ray in the US in July, which is super exciting. But when in terms of translating Japanese to English, are there common mistakes that you see other translators make that you would sort of want to see sort of adjusted as more people are translating these shows as time goes on?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This is the first like real. I mean, I've done obviously, since I've been in Japan for 20 years now. I've done a lot of like translating semi professionally, but this was the first time I ever had the task of taking on a full feature length film, right? And let's put it this way: newfound respect for people who do this for a living, because not only do you have to get everything across that they're saying in the scene, but you have to do it in a limited number of characters. So a lot of times you're making sacrifices. You're weighing off, okay, well, I want to say all of this, but I just can't because it would be impossible to read this. And this is just differences in the spoken languages, right? Japanese is often a lot more efficient than English with the words. And like, I don't want to get into a Japanese language lesson here, but they don't use pronouns. The verbs are very short and they don't conjugate them. And you don't have to say like subjects of the sentence ever if you don't want to. But in English, you need to say that. You need to give that perspective. So it's rough. And sometimes, humor does not come across if you translate it directly, or even just certain nuances to what people are saying, let alone humor. And it's sometimes very difficult, especially when there's a big IP like Tsuburaya, and there will be people in the room looking over my shoulder going, wait a minute, in Japanese they said XYZ, but you translated it as ABC. And I'm saying, yeah, because if I say XYZ right now, no one in the world is going to understand what the heck they're talking about if I translate that directly. So I really think that this was the first time ever somebody translated an Ultraman project in this way, because I could see it on their face. Like they'd never been given this sort of like thought that, oh, maybe you don't have to directly translate it. Maybe it is better to just get the point across. And so this is something hopefully that I think we can all learn from and maybe move forward with, because I'm sure you guys, being huge consumers of these kinds of Japanese programming, are watching it a lot in English subs, and you're probably like, what the heck just happened? When you read that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what's going on. It's people who are just directly translating, or they don't have enough. Maybe as someone who's doing this, you're not really part of the team necessarily. You're kind of just sort of like this outsourced party who's just getting their job done. Whereas for me, it was a little more of a labor of love, and I wanted to make sure it was great, and the point got across and the humor came across. And so maybe that's what Ultraman needs, or maybe that's what they all need, is just to find someone who's got a little more of a connection and wants to make it great.
Yeah.
I think that's a big difference.
You mean like a mid ground where like can still understand like both the languages perfectly, where it's like, all right, don't be too literal here, except when it needs to be.
Exactly. And the other
That's
thing
come
too,
up with a lot of the.
sorry. Like what?
Yeah,
sorry,
I was gonna say.
Go. You go first.
All right. I was gonna say, like, it comes up with a lot of the Mill Creek Ultraman DVDs and Blu-rays have been great, but bunch of shows had subs done by Crunchyroll. A bunch of subs came from Toku HD. A bunch of subs were provided by Tsuburaya. So watching show to show, it's not always consistent. Of course, some are like direct literal translations. Some are adapting it more to make it more readable. Some don't understand English grammar. It's a little bit of a mixed bag in that.
Listen,
regard.
when you're watching Gridman and the kids are cursing every other sentence, you know you screwed up.
Oh man, I know. It's
The Gridman subs.
Japanese has this interesting kind of like curse word. I don't know what to even call it. Not curse word culture, but some of the words that get said by little kids get translated into like 4-letter words in English. And I'm like, no, what he's saying, okay, sure. If you look in the dictionary, yes, he's saying SHIT, but this is a kid saying this that they say everywhere in Japan. You can't, and no 6-year-old in America is going to be, throwing out these 4-letter words. You need to change.
I might have
later,
I might have, because I was cursing at the age of 10. So
right.
But you don't want it in the media.
Exactly.
The actual kids focused media.
Because I'll tell you this right now. Back in the day, for fan subbing, Kisama used to either mean it literally used to mean bitch, or it used to mean SHIT. It literally was interchangeable depending on which sub company you were with, at least fan subs wise. If you were watching people who do like Kamen Rider, it usually meant shit. But if you watch it said bitch. It was weird. It was very and I remember some people would even change it to other words too, but it Kisama I always hear, and I always know that it's a type of slang or curse word in Japanese. I just don't know which word it is specifically.
I mean, just so you know, if you ever come to Japan, you'll never hear that word in normal conversation.
That's so funny.
That word is totally reserved for
television,
TV, film, when two opposing sides just need to refer to the other one in a negative way. You'll never hear a normal person say that in Japanese. But it's a huge part of the language because it's in nearly any of these, tokusatsu or sentai kind of things, or even, just bad guys against good guys, right?
That is nuts. That's great to know though, because like I hear it thrown around a lot in Kamen Rider in the 2000s.
Yes. Oh my god!
And I hear it a lot. So now knowing that that's not even a normal phrase, I'm like, man, they are teaching international people wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, you like the way I like to just do Kisama is just I do a 3-letter capital U. Like just YOU with exclamation points. That's good enough, right? It's not. I mean, like you bitch, or you hear that a lot, or come on. That's.
I have a bad feeling that because we got you to actually cuss, someone's gonna take these sound bites out on us, and they're gonna be on Twitter.
No, it's okay. We're not that popular. No one's coming after us for sound bites.
But we got Sean here. We have Sean here, and he said them, so they might do it. They might.
No, that's cool. Yeah, all publicity is good publicity. But one thing I wanted to add, just real quick about the subtitles, then we can move on, is that not only are we, well, when I say we, I mean me, fighting against the grammar and the direct translation, but also I was fighting against 55 years of Ultraman, in the sense that they translated this one word, this one Ultraman word, this way 50 years ago, and it's been that way for 50 years. Not saying it's right, but they were like, well, but we've been using that word like this. But my point is, look, we've got a whole new audience here. We don't have to stick with our mistakes from a half a century.
Which word was it?
Oh, too many to even mention, man. It's
there's a list.
Ooh, I want to see the list.
Gosh, I mean, I had to pick my battles sometimes. And sometimes when some weird stuff got through, maybe you'll know, oh, that's where Sean just could not conjure up enough energy to fight again.
Yeah, because there were times where I was reading the subs, and you said that the ones that I was telling you about that were available were like the first draft ones that got out for first screenings,
Yeah.
and then the other ones were cleaner because there was a lot of like unnecessary contractions that are like very slang, and I wasn't sure if that was supposed to go with their accent where they were speaking from. But I'm guessing that might have just been a Japanese thing too, where they said these are contractions, even though they don't make like, you know, it was like what's and stuff like that. I was like, that's not normal.
So that, so what that is, that's a pure correlation to what I was saying earlier about getting the character count down. And, you know, so if you do a contraction, then instantly you lose, you know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 characters. And but it looks like crap and it doesn't make sense. So you need to. I said crap again. Are we going to get another?
No, I don't know.
Another tweet going on.
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, it'd be good publicity for everybody at this point.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it was great. I mean, look, that experience was amazing. I hope that the reaction to them will make it so that they understand that, like, hey, a little extra care, a little extra love will help this, you know, overseas. So, like, we'll see. We'll see.
All right.
So, as speaking of love and care and extra attention, there's now English dubs being produced by Okatron 5000 for Ultraman Productions. To start with Shin Ultraman, they got sets currently airing, and apparently they're also on board to be dubbing Blazar. What are your thoughts on that new connection, where it's not just the dubs being produced in Japan like with the Ultra Galaxy fights, but now there's a US-based company dubbing the shows?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a good sign. And well, like, I am maybe guilty of this myself. You know, the English, if you think about the population of native language or native speakers of English in Japan versus the population of native English speakers in America, it's massively different. And then inside of that, the people who can actually voice act, right? So you're going with a very small pool of people in Japan who can actually do this. Now, I'm one of them, so I'm going to kind of diss myself right now. But a lot of us are maybe not as seasoned as some of the voice actors in the US. Now, it doesn't mean they're better or worse, but, you know, you do feel a little bit of like maybe professionalism, or like, okay, this person has been doing this for a while. They know what they're doing. They know how to make this sing in English. So that's good. I think the more, and also sometimes you hear people who you recognize and you're like, oh, that's that guy from whatever. And that's good up to a point. Like, once it becomes that guy doing everything, then you're like, oh my God, I've heard this guy too much. I want someone new. But, you know, it's kind of it could be a good thing in that way too. Now, don't get me wrong, I still want to do it all myself, but it's okay. You can't have everything. But you know, it's good. It's a good sign when they start picking up on this stuff overseas. Super happy to see that. And also, it also means there's more budget, right? Because it's not just double, it's like exponentially more expensive to do that in the US than in Japan. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard of the drastic difference between the talent like the talent pay in Japan versus the US, but it's like hugely different, right? So you know, to do it well and to do it right, it costs money. And usually that was a big consideration too, is let's get it done as cheaply as possible, because we don't have budget. You know, we'd rather spend the money on some cool special effect rather than voice talent from the US, right? So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, and as I
imagine that's also why the Ultraman Regulos dub is produced in Japan dub, because they're spending the money on the production of it. So I imagine they keep the balanced budget by working with those actors in Japan, which also it matches it up to the Ultra Galaxy fights. So it would be weird if we switched dubbing styles when it's kind of in that world.
And you know, the guys who do Ultra Galaxy fight, I mean, I know all of them, so sorry guys, I'm not saying anything bad about you. I love you all, but it's you know, it's just I think that the production quality gets a little higher once it's in the US. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because I was telling you before we started recording, you were like, I didn't even know who Okatron was. I'm like, oh yeah, they're the guys who work with Sabat and the DBZ guys usually, and I was
Yeah,
filling him in on who voices
exactly.
who and how Brad Swaley should have been Ultraman Zero. So picking up on this part of the segment, we have it that we're wondering: are the paid connection live events over, and are we just going to be free YouTube Bandai streams moving forward? And in this format, are they ever going to get us the P-Bandai SHFs distributed to P-Bandai America? Like, what's the full story on this thing?
Yeah, okay. All right. A lot of good questions. Okay, number one, so the live events have slowed down, but that's a result of COVID being over. You got to remember the reason for doing those was because it became really difficult to do the live events overseas because of COVID, right? So the idea was, let's create something that we can, broadcast to the whole world, in lieu of going there and actually having the live events. So now the live events have started picking up again. And so they're in, Thailand, they're in Taiwan, where Indonesia, where else are they going? I don't know, but they were in New York, lots of different places. So it's, because of that, they're busy. I mean, it's just because it's the same people that are doing those live events overseas that are running that show. So for now, that has become more of the priority, to get people out there in front of the people directly. And the Bandai events, I mean, they're more to promote, because there's a great interest in this, I think, of everyone. Like, hey, here's these new figures. Let's see how they work and that kind of thing. And that's, obviously Bandai is a huge partner of Tsuburaya in this whole Ultraman world. So, we like to work with them and help the public know when there's a new lineup out there, and, get some interest. Now, I know you may notice, I don't know how many other people notice, but when I'm doing that, I'm usually doing it in both English and Japanese. And when I'm talking about the products, I have to be very careful about saying, hey, these are available in whatever store, blah, 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 in Japanese. But when I say it in English, I'm saying a completely different thing, because like you say, they're not actually available in the US. So if anyone in the US can speak Japanese, they're like, oh, great, I can get it. But then they realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm in the US, I actually can't get it. So it's as the host of the show doing that, I feel a little awkward, because I'm like, oh man, there's more than just Japanese people watching this. There's the whole rest of the world who probably is interested in these, yet really can't get them. So you just have to be super careful about what you say on those things. But
because notice that we have P-Bandai America now, and we're getting Kamen Rider, but they can't give us Ultraman, and I don't understand why we can't get that perfect medium going.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, next time I'm with those guys, I will make sure I ask. Because I don't complain like super hard, but I do complain a little bit when I'm like, hey, come on, if you're going to offer these things to one group that's watching and not offer to the other, it's kind of awkward. It makes, because it kind of makes me look a little silly too. It's like,
because dude, you want to know what's funny? A lot of the P-Bandai versions of Ultraman figure arts, they actually sell out on P-Bandai in Japan and in Asia right away. And some figures don't actually get a second run production as other figures do. So when we have distributors that are middlemaning it for us, they sometimes can't even order them at all. And one of the biggest issues is Ultraman Titus from Taiga. He sold out, and he's going for $300 on the secondary market when he's an $80 figure.
Wow. Yeah.
So we can't even complete the main characters from that. Now, I do understand. I've been told by other people in your position that there's just issues of a working agreement while they have a partnership with Bandai. There's just the distribution problem because there's something going on. I don't know. I know you probably know a bit more, but supposedly there's some kind of legal issue with Bandai in distributing.
I'm not 100% in the weeds on this, but I do know that international rights management is a pain in the butt, right? Because it's split up amongst geographic regions, and contracts that were made years ago, giving certain people exclusive rights over certain merchandise, and it's just like, okay, well, Bandai, you're not that. You didn't sign that deal, 10 years ago, and this other company was willing to do it. So sorry, you can't do this. And it's just, it gets really confusing and convoluted very quickly when you're talking about any international rights, whether it's merchandise, whether it's video rights, music rights, all that stuff is kind of a pain to work
and that's
out.
why we don't have that many Ultra replicas, because they're all P-Bandai.
They did give us the Shin Ultraman Ultra replicas did come out over here.
But I also feel like Ano went into their offices with like an actual combat MG and was like, I will break this thing down if you screw me. I feel like Ano just went in there like loaded, like he looked like Rambo, like, you want to do this?
Yeah.
Ano's that kind of guy.
Toys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, Ano's got a new toy. He's got his own Megazord. It just had that whole commercial. Like Godzilla, Ava, Kamen Rider becoming a Megazord, like, a mecha. Like
adding to that toy discussion, I got this recently, which was Mezco's 1/12 scale Ultraman, which I found fascinating because I'm like, this is an Ultraman. He's bigger than a figure art, but he's got like this bodysuit, so he looks a little bit more screen accurate in some ways,
and he's got lights.
And he has lights.
Are his eyes? Yeah, they are, aren't they? Okay, I couldn't tell if it was just some weird video artifact. Yeah, that's cool.
No, his color timer lights up, and it's a little switch on the back. But it's cool to see like a different company besides Bandai making Ultraman stuff. But also this is Mezco's a US based company, so it's kind of interesting to see how Ultraman's worked its way through.
Yeah, wait, I was going to tell you that's not available in Japan. I've never seen that before. So there you go. It's the opposite thing is happening as well. Right?
Yeah, now we got the American exclusive Ultraman.
But now he had
his cape, unlike Bandai, which they always sell the cape separate. So
yes, they really like selling those capes separate. But Sada, if he has a light switch on his back, does that mean Furuya-san has a light switch on his back since he was the man in the suit?
Maybe. I don't know where they rigged the light. I'm sure the lights weren't rigged into a system with tiny batteries. It looks really horrifying. You take his face off.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my god. It's like what's that show where they pulled the face off and they were all robots?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't think of it. Oh my god.
What is it? I remember his watching like being horrified.
Yeah, it was like the 60s or whatever.
Yeah. What was it? It wasn't Westworld, was it? It was
it might have been Westworld. It might have been
Westworld. Yeah, Westworld had the robots with the
original one, not the
new one. Okay, so I got the next two questions.
All right.
So, now our audiences, at least the ones who go to our website and read our content, know that you helped us get with your producer Takashi Yagi to do an interview with him, and I thank you a lot. Yagi was really fun to talk to and work with. And you got to see an interview with him. And he also is doing a course with Narō TV. And by proxy, that led to us getting involved with Narō TV. And they explained to me in an interview that we still haven't uploaded yet because their other members of their board or committee want to review the interview first before we publish it. Sure. But Jordan explained to me that you also have worked with Narō too in the past. And I was wondering, like, what's your role with the group?
Yeah, so one of the things that I do in like kind of this parallel path that I have with, sort of being an actor and Ultraman and voice actor, that kind of thing. I also have like a day job, and one of the things I do is I help foreign companies come into Japan. I can either help assist with them starting up or actually like, be the guy on the ground in Japan that represents that company here. And so a close friend of mine, and Jordan also is a very close friend of mine. I've known him for over a decade. And he was working for, kind of a big company, and he'd done a couple previous startups. And he was like, oh, I'm sick of the big company thing. I want to start my own thing. And so we were just sort of like, talking about what it could be and all these different, it started with the idea of masterclass, which maybe you know, it's
Yeah.
a pretty famous video service. And how could we, it kind of started with, how can we help masterclass get more Japanese content? And like, well, why don't we just do the Japanese content? And then that's where it started. So at the very beginning, I was kind of helping, you know, get the company started, working with the founder, a guy named Todd. Did you ever talk to Todd?
Yes, Todd and Jordan, they said they're other financial
founders. So Todd is the guy I was talking about who had exited a couple startups previously and then started working for a big company that he hated. So just at the beginning, you know, because he's a pal, I was helping out and trying to make some connections to potential masters, right? So it was like, you know, so I brought Yagi in. I helped bring, do you know Konishiki, the big sumo guy?
Yes. We actually asked them some questions about working with him. And there was one question in particular where they're like, you shouldn't talk about that one because it's considered a taboo in the world of sumo, even though it's a part of the lore.
Oh, what is it about cheating?
No, it was the mythos of what is in Japan, what do they believe is the real origin of like sumo, like the story of sumo, and supposedly there's a part of the story that is considered like taboo or non-canon, but it's known as part of it's like it's this big thing. I'm not the one who knows that well, but my friend who actually watched sumo growing up, because he had a lot of Asian imports, and he knows the history of sumo from all the perspectives of the mythological, the historical, and supposedly it's believed, at least in the Western culture, of people translating the text, is that it's both like people existed, but they were seen as like mythical. Supposedly, actual sumo doesn't recognize one half of the legend or whatever, the story.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it'd be like as an American, if we said somehow like football, like the NFL, actually started with Jesus Christ.
Yes.
You know, it's something like that. And so they've done a good job over the 100 years of kind of connecting sumo to this like more than human deity type thing, you know, from the gods.
It was like something like that from what my friend had asked, because he knew, and he asked them, did they discuss it during that course? Because we ourselves didn't buy a lot of the courses, but we had a lot of the interviews that they provided us to interview them with. So we just came up with questions asking them what was it like working with him, this person, or what were some of your favorite courses having done, which by proxy led Jordan going to Mamoru Oshii and going, hey, these guys really love your work. And they did this interview going how they praised us for working with you and being so patient. And Jordan comes back a couple of days later and says, Oshii will give you a very limited interview.
No, that's
send them to me, and I'll translate them for you. And so Jordan is working with Mamoru Oshii.
Yeah. Jordan's a great guy. I'm glad you guys.
He's very nice. I really love talking with him. It was very funny when Todd had to leave, and the first thing he says, my views and expressions do not represent Narō. These are all my, like, he did this whole joke. It's great. I hope the interview does get published soon, so people will be like, oh crap, this is cool.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Check out Narō TV. It's if you're interested in Japan and Japanese culture, there's some really good stuff. And the Yagi
course is live. It is live.
That's course. Is it live already?
I think it is live. They keep promoting that it's alive. It might not be. I'm not too sure.
By the time this comes out, it should be live.
Exactly. And on top of that too, when I interviewed them, they asked me, who would you want to see? And I just gave like a bunch of like famous Japanese wrestlers. I was like, I don't know. I was like, go ask Great Muda. I don't know. Go bother Muda. He's retired now. Jushin Thunder Liger retired now. Go ask them. They're great.
That's good. No, good advice. Yeah, that's a good one. I hopefully we can do that.
Exactly. But I guess for our follow-up question, since you probably worked on Yagi's course directly, or did you just do like financial stuff or whatnot? Did you do multiple courses, or how does it work? You just do the
so I wasn't really involved in any of the production because you know Narō has its own production team and stuff. My role is just to try to find potential masters, you know, to come in and give the thing. So like I said, it was Yagi, Konishiki. There's a kimono wearing expert.
Yeah, they told me that was coming.
Japanese beauty kind of thing. So you know, it's really interesting because there's we've got a lot of food. I used to work a lot in the food industry, so there's a lot of food kind of content that we can do, but we don't want to overdo it with food. There's a lot more.
There's a whole bunch of food that they had to like bundle it for Black Friday deals.
Yeah, exactly.
And even I was like, because that's why I came to them like, is it like Master Course, Master Chef and stuff? And they were like,
yeah, I know.
Sort of. And they tried to mingle around, even though I was technically, like you just proved I was sort of right when I asked them.
Yeah, we don't want to be like, Narō food TV. We want to be more like Narō TV. So it's we're trying to do some other things now with some completely different people, and it's really just trying to find this good balance between a master yet someone who's not crazy busy, that can dedicate a couple weeks of time to like putting this on film and making something really nice.
Yeah, they told me they have coming up like a very young woman, but she's like a prodigy. Like her family were doing this for their years, and so she just picked it up from having grown as a child, working for her family, and she just blew up as like this really great. I don't know if it was pastry or candy or something. I just
pastry,
They mentioned that she's like in her 30s or something. I don't know how. I'm trying to go off the back of my head. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
So
no,
if she isn't in her 30s, I apologize to the
Sorry. No worries. Cool, man. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I like Narō TV. I think it has some potential.
All right, so Soundout. It's about time you start doing this thing.
All right, it's Max time. We're gonna talk some in-depth Max questions.
Okay, awesome.
I'm obviously referencing Mike's episode.
Oh yes, obviously. One of my favorites. And I bought this is my original Max in the box.
But is it autograph signed?
Well, I mean, I could make it an autograph signed version.
that one's much cooler than the Max I got.
I like that one. But if you want to go for the full flex, you got to get Ioma to sign it.
Yeah, they don't put them in boxes anymore. So
no, they don't. That's what I loved about the old ones. I remember going to stores and seeing them always in boxes. Now they're on cards and they're just
now they just it's like you get just your vinyl and then your really large tag, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yep.
They stole that idea from the Godzilla ones because Godzilla started doing it first in the late 80s, 90s. And like, why are we boxing them?
These are also smaller too. They shrunk the size by like they're like a head shorter now than they used to be.
Yeah, well. Yep.
All right. So
anyway. Yep. Okay. Let's do Max.
Let's do the Max questions.
We got a lot of Max.
Yeah. It's mostly Max questions because we both just watched it recently, so it's all fresh now. So the show, I noticed this in particular. The show starts using a lot of fourth wall breaking jokes in mostly the back half of the show. There's a lot of turns to the camera with several characters. Shaun White seems to be the most proficient at it. We're pretty convinced he's a fifth dimensional being. He just seems to constantly know the audience is there. But was there any particular discussion, or was that just something they started just kind of rolling into the show?
Well, okay. So if you go back to that time, Ultraman had kind of taken a little bit of a turn towards the darkness, with Nexus, and it kind of was losing a little bit of the appeal to the young generation. I think they were trying to appeal more towards adults and things like that. And I think there was a lot of, feedback that was like, this isn't the Ultraman that I'm used to, right? And so the whole idea with Max, it was, it's weird. It was not the 40th anniversary show, but it was the 40th year of Ultraman. How do you
like the 40th anniversary of Ultra Q, and then the next year was the 40th anniversary of Ultraman?
Yeah, exactly, something like that, right? Yeah. So it was the
maybe
40th
was the
Tsuburaya Productions, but not the 40th anniversary of Ultraman. But anyway, so they were like, okay, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do a lot of throwbacks. We're going to do a lot of Easter eggs. These Easter eggs are really easy to find. They're not super hidden. It's like, okay, let's bring back the original Ultraman and heroine and put them in the show and as characters. But it was purposefully supposed to be lighthearted at times. You know, I think one thing about Yagi that I also like is that he's a huge Star Wars fan, right? And you know, Star Wars has its moments of levity, right? And in between massive battles and tense drama and force and all this stuff. But there's some, you know, really funny parts in it too. And I think they wanted to make that happen. So, you know, I think that's why Shaun White is kind of like he is, and maybe even why I got to be him is because I could bring a little bit of that comedy flair to him. And, you know, breaking the fourth wall, you know, for me, I was definitely influenced a lot by Ferris Bueller. I don't know, did you see Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Mhm.
I mean, he's breaking the fourth wall constantly in that. And I thought that's just hilarious. And I, you know, really wanted to do that as much as possible. And so, you know, like that kind of like unexpected yet funny thing we brought. And, you know, I remember the first time we did it, I'm like, you know, it would be funny if I looked into the camera and did this. It would be way funnier. And they're like, okay, try it. And then I did it. And then I could hear everyone in the backstage just cracking up. And I'm like, okay, this is good. If they're laughing here, then everyone else is going to be laughing too. And so, you know, a lot of those things just were, you know, in the moment, let's try something. You know, there were no real limitations on what we could do. And, you know, all the best directors are the ones who will kind of like let the actors kind of do their thing and maybe cook a little bit when they have to. And you know, so that comedy stuff, I mean, there were a ton of times when stuff was really funny, but we're like, okay, let's reel it back in a little bit because this isn't a comedy show, right? There's no laugh track. But you know, so there were just times where we were allowed to let it go and times when we had to like, okay, this is not that time. But yeah, so it was cool. It was really good.
Yeah, I even sat there and like I counted how many, like I didn't really fully count on a number of how many
Yeah.
times, but I started like doing like a tally thing. I lost count after a while, but I said to Soundout, I go, Sean has the most. And Soundout's like, who has the second most? And I go, in the first interview, I said I think it was the girls. He goes, what do you mean? And I looked back and it was like Mizuki and Ellie. And I think Ellie was actually second and Mizuki was third.
Okay.
They somehow started, you know, doing what you did by talking
Yeah.
right into the camera. They usually did it the most, and Ellie's like right up there, I think, as like second, because you will say something where you look at the camera, and then she'll play off of you and look in the camera's direction. Like
Yeah.
we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Burnout Syndrome, that one was
Yeah.
like you and her just literally stealing the entire scene. And then
Yeah.
Mizuki's like looking in the camera like it's TMNT trying to figure out who are you talking to.
Who are we talking to? Yeah, yeah, that was a great scene. Did love that one. Yeah, but you know, it's just I think I had a lot of background in, you know, just before Ultraman, I was on this this kids show in Japan that like all the kids in Japan watched for,
I'm
you
guessing
know,
that's where it kind of came natural because I'm guessing the
3 years.
kids
Yeah,
show
and,
had it.
yeah, and before that, I was kind of doing some stand-up comedy in Japan too. I don't know if you guys know Manzai.
Yeah,
Um,
we
it
talked
was
about that
me.
a little bit.
It was like me and this other American guy, and we were just like the only, you know, the only foreigners who ever even tried, I think, to do manzai in Japan. Even now, I don't see a whole lot of that, but it was fun. So I think we had that kind of background, or at least I did, and I tried to bring sort of that like improv, sort of like let's just kind of take the moment and try to make something funny happen with what we have, as much as I could. Yeah.
I started noticing on like my last like disc of the set, there's like 6 or 7 discs, and I'm on the last disc, and I started like putting some like my without even looking in the booklet, I started like ringing stuff up, and I said to myself, all right, how many episodes did Yagi-san actually direct? Because if he's the head producer, director of the show, but Kaneko gets usually most of the credit because of him doing Gamera, how many did they direct? So I started doing a tally by looking in the booklet that I showed earlier, and Yagi did 8 of the episodes out of 39.
Yep.
Kaneko and Murashi did 6.
Yep.
Tochihara and Kaji did 4 following that. So there are at least 5 actors that promote, did most of the show. Five actors. I mean, 5 directors that did most of the show's episodes. And from those directors, besides Yagi, did you have a particular favorite out of the other 4 people, Kaneko or Sashi?
Yeah. Well, okay. So Kaneko-san, he was probably the most well-known director. He had done, like you said, Gamera, and had some real clout that he was bringing to Ultraman Max. And he really wanted to do an Ultraman series himself. So, working with him was really cool, because he was super like detail oriented on all the things that he wanted. And he worked really well with Yagi. He was kind of like the overall creator. Like when I talked to him, we always try to figure out, like, what do I call myself on Ultraman Max? And I'm like, well, you're the lead creator, producer, director. He did so many things. It's hard to
essentially the executive producer and series composer, not the music composer, but the series composition guy.
Is that what they ended up
in the
calling
American industry?
composer?
It would be the showrunner.
The showrunner,
the showrunner.
Yeah. But we called Kaneko-san the overall like the lead director, I guess.
Because he's credited as that internationally. But I was wondering, because when you told us the story of Yagi, I went and did the research.
I mean, and there's some different ways to read into that too, which is like, okay, because he is the most famous person, let's get his name out there, and like, hey, this has got Kaneko's stamp of approval on it. So it means it's got to be good, and and it was. I mean, I definitely think he brought a lot to this, and a very, like, he's a very kind of quiet director. Just sort of lets you kind of do your own thing. And whereas Yagi is more like, Yagi's a little bit more of a nerd, a geek in this world, which is great. And so he can kind of come and talk about, like, all the little nerdy things that he wants to add, and that little flavor about Ultraman, because I think Kaneko-san was more just like, hey, I loved Ultraman as a kid, and I want to take my talent and make something really cool with Ultraman. Whereas Yagi-san was more like, okay, how many nerdgasms per minute can we induce amongst the viewing population, that kind of thing. So those two were really different in that sense. And then the other two, like Muraishi-san, he's like an old standby Tsuburaya director. So he knew exactly how to film Ultraman by the book, and so really easy working with him, because he knew exactly what he wanted and to just do it. And then same with like Kaji-san and Tochihara-san. Those guys were very like Tsuburaya trained kind of directors too. But we also had great guest directors too. Like we talked about
Mike.
My favorite is Mike, of course. His 2 episodes were, I mean, no offense to anyone else, but I mean, I loved his 2 episodes. I absolutely loved working with him. It's a really class by himself.
So because my other part of the question would have been, who would you love to collaborate more with? And I'm guessing it's
sorry.
So this is that's fine. But this is actually a question for you though. So one of my favorite episodes is actually directed by Akiko Jiso. He did 22. 22 is like my favorite one, because it's literally like a psychedelic thing. Totally. And then Konaka wrote the second psychedelic one. And I kind of noticed that, like, in the 2 psychedelic ones, you're not like in them at all. I think in the 2 psychological ones.
I know. I do remember this because there was a like in one of the ones. Oh shoot, I forgot which one it was. But I had like literally only one scene, and I had to put on this like kind of zombie makeup, and it was like it was kind of like a long makeup session, and then I was on the camera for like 10 seconds, and they're like, goodbye. I'm like, okay, thank you.
I didn't write this question down, but I gotta ask, like, what do you do in those cases when it's an episode where you're like not featured at all? Like, do they give you do they give you like the script and still tell you to stand there, or do they just tell you don't come in that day if you're not even featured?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're not going to be on camera, then there's no reason to be there.
Okay, so they don't even like, they just tell you to go have a day off, or go
Yeah,
watch the
totally.
guy, go help the
Yeah.
guys over in the Tokusatsu department or something. The actual effects.
So yeah, because when it's a day off, it's a day off, right? So you're just chilling. You don't have to do anything. You can dedicate that day to something else or whatever. It's a pretty intense schedule. So any day off you get is actually like a very coveted thing. So you
Because
want,
I noticed they would do it to you the most. I think it was you, then Koba. Like it was like, if we didn't see
yeah,
you, Koba's probably still there, or he's not at all. So if
yeah,
Sean doesn't show up, there's no Koba at all.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were kind of like the partners, and so if we were off doing something, or in the psychedelic episodes, they didn't even really like. Sometimes you could tell, like as I was reading the script, like the Taicho, the Hijikata would be like, okay, Sean, Koba, we need you to go investigate this thing really far away. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be in this episode very much, that kind of thing. But that's all right,
Yeah,
I
because
mean, that's the thing. When you work as a team, you can't
can't
have
have
everybody
everyone. Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Because I just remember, like, as I was rewatching the last couple of episodes, I'm like, "How? Where is Sean? I don't hear any English. Where did he go?
Yeah,
Where did he
exactly.
go?"
So, did any of the writers ever visit the set, and did you have any interactions with anybody who was on the writing team?
Yeah, not a lot actually. Though the one that showed up the most was actually Kaneko-san's brother, who was also a writer. I mean, and probably that's just because his brother was directing, so he showed up more. But I hung out with him a lot, and he was a cool guy too. But that's really it. Other than that, I don't really remember any writers ever showing up, and which I thought was kind of weird sometimes. But
Yeah, I thought to ask that, because the only reason I brought that up was because I noticed somehow at Toei, if Inoue's writing a script, he tries to befriend his cast of the
yeah,
show he's writing for. Inoue like goes out of his way to like try to befriend at least one or two of the actors
no,
on the
and as
show.
an actor, you love talking to the writers because you're the one who's like living this character,
Yeah.
and the writers don't always get to see what you're doing with the character, right? So you need to like give some feedback, like, hey, over the course of these first 10 episodes, I've sort of taken this path, and Shaun White has kind of become something like this. That way, when they start writing again for later on, they'll know how to properly, because sometimes you'll be taking the character direction, but the writers aren't seeing that, and they're like, suddenly you're reading a script, it's like, oh my god, there's no way Shaun White would do this. So it's really good. It really behooves the production to have the cast and the writers interact more.
All right, so we got the
All right,
one.
here's another probably easy question. So in
Yeah.
Ultraman Max, Shaun White calls Toma Samurai Boy a lot. How did that nickname come to stick as a thing in the series?
So it was kind of like there was something in the script where I called him. Shoot, I don't even remember what it was. I should go back and try to dig this out, because Samurai Boy is now so stuck in my head that I can't remember what the original thing was. But it was like, okay, like what would be like a really funny thing that this American guy would refer to him as, and then man, you know what? I stole this. This is the first time I'm ever saying this, but I was in a movie called Kisarazu Cat's Eye World Series, and one of the guys in there used a very similar expression to talk to. We were foreigners talking to the Japanese guys, and I just stole it directly from that. So sorry, Kisarazu Cat's Eye, but that's mine now.
All right.
Do you guys know that? Have you ever seen that movie before? Kisarazu Cat's Eye, ever?
I haven't,
I
but I'm
know.
looking for it right now.
I'm thinking that I've heard it, but I'm like, I'm only thinking of the anime Cat's Eye, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it probably has nothing to do with the anime.
No, well, it does, in the sense
Okay.
that they got the name from that anime.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, watch it. It
Okay.
started out as a TV series, super funny, and then you could tell when a series is popular because it becomes a movie. So after the series, then it became, I think, 3 movies, and I was in the second one. Yeah.
So if a TV show is a thing,
I found it. Yeah, it's Kisarazu Katsai, and there was it was like World Series was the second movie.
Yeah, like you said. All right, we're gonna have to go watch this now. We're gonna have to like find all of the episodes.
I want to find this show somewhere.
I know. Now we're gonna watch it and be like, all right, so now we gotta ask Sean to like find out if we can talk to these people too.
Well, some of the guys in there, like for example, Ellie, who became the most famous actress in all of Japan. Some of the guys in Kisarazu Katsai are part of. Do you know Johnny's?
Oh boy, yep, we talked about that with the last interview.
Yeah. So they were part of Johnny's Entertainment. So they were already famous when we filmed that, but a couple of them are like they're untouchable now. They're so famous. Like these guys are crazy famous. So it was kind of cool to be able to work with them. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. No, that's funny because last time we did talk about Johnny's too. And
because of their involvement with Tiga.
we brought up Tiga and the whole incident there.
Oh, who did you talk to about that?
We talked to you about Johnny's thing. We said,
right. Oh, right. Oh, I was gonna say,
the first one we talked about how they work with Tiga and how they're very controlling of the actor and stuff and restrict them.
Yeah,
and that's one of my bucket lists is to meet him because like Tiga was a big thing for me. Yeah, Tiga is like one of the big ones for me to watch because I grew up with like Tiga and Seven, so they're like 2 of my go-tos. And then you got to technically work with him. I don't think you actually did. You meet him when he was on that episode? Because I just think the others did. No, I don't.
Yeah, the others did, not me. Yeah,
you met though Ide in that.
Yep.
Professor Date.
all the original cast.
Yeah.
I got to meet and actually work with, so that was really cool.
Yeah, just Seven and I think Leo were the only 2 you didn't meet when they were on the show.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are some of your favorite gags or jokes from the series?
Well, okay. There's there's a lot, right? I mean, I think we talked about it earlier, that fourth wall break and kind of like integrating that into becoming a normal part of the show was part of my favorite, because I never thought anyone would allow that. Like it's never happened really in Ultraman, and it's kind of cool. Also, it wasn't me, but when Kurobe-san, who's the original Ultraman guy, we're all kind of going crazy, and he does the thing with the curry.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. And it's a deep cut too, that you really have to know the show well to understand what that's all about.
He did it a second time too, where he has the clippers for the tree. And
yeah. And then in that episode too, I mean, like that episode is just like so comical in many senses of the word. There's like this, when Hichikata is like, he just comes up with this ad lib out of nowhere that makes no sense, but for some reason the way he delivers it is so funny. I really want to know how they did it in English. I haven't seen the English subtitle on this.
Ooh, you should.
Do you remember when he like runs out of like everyone's going crazy in that episode, and he's in the control center, and he
runs out and he
blurts out something and then runs out of the room? Okay. Do you remember what that was?
Oh man, Soundout. We might have to go to Tokusatsu and you just scroll through the episode.
I'll see if it's.
It's on Tokusatsu. It's on Tokusatsu's website. Go there, scroll. I don't remember, but one of my favorite gags made me think of my friend Kaus, because Kaus is very it does this a lot. But it's the scene where you're working hard in your room, and you sneezed, and no one's there to go. God bless you, and you're like, God bless you. Thank you, me. Thanks, me. I like me. And you're just having a conversation with yourself for no reason. Yes. And it made me think of my friend Kaus, and I showed him the scene, and he was hysterical because he does that too. Like sometimes, like even if I'm doing like most of the time, like I grew up where like I just didn't say it. I was just like nodding, like all right. But like he's still like say it, and I'm like no, I don't want it.
Well, so and it seems like that where it's just kind of like the script is just Sean labors away in the laboratory, and I'm like, well, okay, this is boring. Let's do something, I mean, come on, let's and I think the origin of that is I was in Japan, when people sneeze, there is no word you say. There is no response to a sneeze.
Yeah.
Everyone sneezes and it's over. So I think I was someone on the staff sneezed and I said, bless you. And people are like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, in America, we say this, blah, blah, blah. And so it kind of became like, okay, let's add that.
Yeah, because and it also does the typical Japanese thing of they were talking about you and then you sneezed and then it's you going,
exactly.
bless
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you, B. Because
I forget real quick, which episode should I be scrolling through?
Hold on.
I'm trying to remember which I can't remember the
It's
titles.
the Mika episode. Hold on.
It's the one.
It's episode 16. Who am I?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's either 16 or 17, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Pulling up 16.
16. Scroll through, you'll find it. But I guess we'll just go to the next question while we're waiting on Gags.
Oh, but my favorite stuff, and we talked about it earlier, and I have a feeling you're going to ask me about this, is any of the times where they said speak English, right? Because all of that obviously was unscripted. Okay. So I had a line there in Japanese, and then the director would just say, just take that line and do it in English. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, because there's a
Try
few ones
else.
where you're like talking mad crap to the monster. There's like one where you're like, yeah, you take that, monster.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of funny ones where it's you shouting at the monster in English.
Yeah.
I think there's at least one case where like an explosion goes off near you, and I think they actually have you shout Jesus Christ. I forget. There's like something where you just go like Jesus. I remember you like there's at least one point where you shout like Jesus at something, and it's like an explosion, and you're just like shocked.
I know. Okay.
I think it's the episode where you throw the gun to Ellie, and then Ellie just starts going off, and you're like,
that's exactly well. So okay, it's actually that episode, but it's when Mizuki is tied up to like a very cross.
Yes, when she's on the cross. I think for her birthday, I tweeted. I know she doesn't really check her social media, but I said on this day she rose, and I think I tweeted it at her. Like, if she retweets this, it's over. I said.
Awesome.
I was hoping she'd see it, but I guess it got blocked by other people saying happy birthday. But I did it. I think it was either that or Easter. I made a joke about it. I don't remember. It was one of those things.
Yeah.
Because I remember
that one in my mind, I'm like, this one could be controversial if it ever gets outside the US. But
listen, Ultraman has already been crucified. So why not one of its actresses? Just throw him up on a cross, Exactly. It's biblical.
Yep.
Okay, so while Soundout's looking for that,
I'm still looking for the scene. It's tricky because I'm trying to like, was it in the episode and how slow should I scroll?
Okay, so this is a question I gotta ask because Soundout's mom brought it to our attention. But in early episodes, a lot of the times you're inventing stuff, you're just doing it at the desk area on the command center. But then later on, they start making like other rooms and sets, and they have you using them like as an actual lab. Was that just because of budgetary costs, or was it just that those sets weren't constructed yet, or do you recall?
I'm sure. We always knew that I had a lab, right, somewhere where I was making all these, contraptions and gadgets and things like that. And so it just one day they decided to show it. That's all. I don't know if it was a budgetary constraint, maybe time, but it's usually time more than budget, because to put that whole set together, that takes effort, and once they get the main stuff done, and then they have more time, they can start doing the other rooms and things like that too. So
the next question we have also is episode 7. There's this cave that is seen a lot, not just in Ultraman but in other Tokusatsu. Do you know? We were wondering, where is that cave actually located, and did you have any favorite filming locations in the show?
You should have asked Yagi that question, because he'll know exactly where it is.
So I will go ask Yagi and be like, hey Yagi, Sean don't know.
Yeah, because like for us, whenever we had a location shoot, which means out of the studio somewhere else, it usually meant that we were all up at 4 a.m. getting in a bus and then just sleeping on the bus until we got to where we had to be. So I like that one. I do remember though that people say we use this a lot, and this is because they do go back to the same places, because a lot of the reasons is they know it's okay, they know what to expect, they know that they can use like pyrotechnics, blow stuff up, and it's okay, because there's not a lot of places in Japan that you could do that, because Japan's quite a packed country, so you can't really be blowing stuff up anywhere near population centers. So they're like known for those kinds of things.
All right. But did you have a favorite filming location or nah? Not really.
I just remember being able to see a lot of like rural Japan that I never knew existed. And so that didn't really have a favorite spot necessarily.
This is a question that Soundout had came up with, but he wants to actually know while he's still searching for the
Okay, I'll ask it because I'm still searching. So talking about locations, but here's something that I was curious about was the cockpits for the vehicles. How do those sets sort of feel from the actor perspective of working in that cockpit space?
Yeah, I mean it's cool. They developed this or built this cockpit, and it's obviously not the whole plane, right? And you kind of cram yourself in there, and I'm a little bigger than everyone else, so it was always really tight for me in there. But
it was weird that they would shove you in the co-pilot spot because you always look like you're like
I know exactly. I was trying not to look like that, but I think it's like kind of
no, it's obvious rewatching it. When I was a kid, didn't notice it. Watching it now, oh no, I see you like pulling like a me, like a cold, like I'm like.
So that's fun, and every once in a while I got to actually drive, so I like that, because when you're in like the back seat, you can never get the cool front on camera shot, like you're looking down the barrel, and so every once in a while when I did get to fly the plane, I thought that was much more fun than sitting in the back.
All right.
But
like in this episode where you get ejected into the plane suddenly and you're spinning out of control.
That one was great when in the Mike one where like you got left in there and you were just like stuck.
I know, that was hilarious.
Next one is a very interesting question. So episode 17, Ice Beauties, pretty much a Koba episode, but you all fall in love with the frozen alien woman Nina, who's played by Saki Kamiryo. Yeah, I know. I was gonna slaughter that name. But she obviously becomes the lead heroine in Mega Monster Battle. She's like the main female of the team in Mega Monster Battle series. What do you recall of working with her in that episode? And like, were you surprised when they brought her back to be a series regular years later?
Yeah. So okay, the funny thing is that we all like kind of in the show, we were all like attracted by her beauty, and especially Koba. I was like falling for her. But man, she had a wig on. I don't know if you know that's not her real hair.
It kind of looked like a wig or extensions, because part of it looked real, part of it looked like a mix. So I thought it was like a weave and extensions.
But it was kind of a funny thing, because when she takes that off, she's way better looking. Like that. The thing is, like, she's supposed to be a beauty with this thing, but the wig makes her look
old,
worse,
like a ghost.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because she's also much lighter, because I know her for being a little bit tanner when she did Mega Monster Battle. So she was like very chalky pale, and I was like, is that to make the impression that she was frozen? And then like later on when she's like thawed out, I'm like, oh, they just did her all natural. So they're like, no tanning.
No, exactly. No, she's great. I mean, we all enjoyed our time with her on the set. She's a great actress. She does a lot of stage acting, theater, live theater kind of stuff. And so it's always, and she's also like, and probably no one knows this, but she's an amazing singer too. Like she can
I would know that.
Anyone, like, amazing. Anyway, so yeah, it was cool hanging out with her. I think everyone, like, in real life also fell in love with her a little bit, because she's just like this super cute, bubbly, funny girl too, so it was cool. Yeah, we all liked her a lot.
So I'm guessing though when she went to Mega Monster Battle, you were like, cool. She's
Yeah, oh no, yeah. Stamp of approval, 100%. Yeah, she's great.
Because I remember when you guys did the episode with Ace, the live thing, he said, I got to work with the actor who became Taro. And he goes, I met him. I go, this actor would be great as a lead character in a superhero show. Lo and behold, half a month or two later, they start casting, and lo and behold, it's him.
Yeah.
So I just thought, knowing you'd have an interesting start going. Yeah, no, she's great. Yeah, but
I think I found the clip.
Okay.
What does he say?
So is it Koba coming back through the door, or where?
No,
are we
it's when Hayata goes through the door and he pulls out the spoon.
The spoon. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I was like, I forgot who was supposed to be going through a door.
Oh, wait, no. The curry. But no, the line that I thought was so funny was when what do you call Hijikata in English? We call him Taicho. Is he like Commander Hijikata or something like that?
Yeah, he's like something.
Yeah. It's when he leaves. When he leaves. When he leaves.
The line says for him, he has to find the bathroom, I think. When you're commander, the one who went on who guest starred in Q Ranger, I think he says he needs to find a bathroom because I think he's going to throw up.
Okay, that's one, but he also does it again. So the first time he goes, he's like, toilet, like, I got to go to the bathroom. And then he does it again. And he says this inane sentence, which makes no sense. And it wasn't in the script.
I'll have to skim through that because
I know where that scene is now because I skimmed through the entire episode.
Okay, so I'll keep asking the question, Soundout then.
Yeah, I want to find it.
So the next question I have is episode 20, The Drifting Monster, opens with the family having dinner, where a son tries to watch Ultraman Max in universe as the kaiju appears overhead. Now, this is a two-part question, so I'm just gonna read the whole thing. Did anyone ever explain or understand that meta joke? And also, Joe Onodera, son of Ishinomori, who is also in Ultraman Dyna as Nakajima, plays the father. Was his inclusion also a callback to the sleeping kaiju that appeared in Dyna? Was that like all planned out?
So the whole like meta, I don't want to say metaverse because that word means so much more now.
Yeah, exactly.
Before. But the meta aspect of the family watching Ultraman Max was just another part of one of those silly kind of things that we wanted to add to the show. And I mean, obviously I didn't think of it. It was the script writer, and it was in the script. I remember like the kids are watching Ultraman Max on the TV. So that was like kind of cool that, hey, this Ultraman Max has become so popular in universe that they've already got a TV show about him, so that was kind of fun.
All right. And I guess Onodera's inclusion, right, was that callback because it's all about a sleeping monster. And I was because I saw it immediately when I rewatched it. I'm like, oh crap, it's Joe Onodera, and I was like, Nakajima, and I was like, sleeping monster. This all makes sense why he was here then.
Just more of those little Easter eggs that I was talking about. And, that's all Yagi. That's all his kind of like doing, is trying to bring all these different pieces back and put them into Max. Yeah.
All I got to say, though, is since I do know he's Ishinomori's son, too, my favorite thing is a lot of people still don't know that. And every time I'm watching Kamen Rider and I see his name, I go, this man knows what he's doing as an executive producer on the show. This man, he knows. He's hung with it. I'm like, he's learned from his own man. He's learned from the Tsuburayas. I trust this man completely.
Yeah.
I would love to see him direct a whole series. I would love to see what Onodera would do if he ever got the ball going.
That'd be cool.
He would be cool.
All right, I found the scene.
Okay.
They basically just translated him as saying bathroom again.
Oh, so he says bathroom twice in English?
Yeah.
That's what they translated it to in English.
Yeah. That's all he says. I was like, oh, okay.
All right. So we got a few more questions. Soundout, do you want to do the next one since I took over?
Yep. We'll try to run through these quick. In episode 30, Courage from the Heart, Sean is working hard to produce the AG Mazer. What do you recall that episode and that specific heartfelt scene with Kaito?
It's the one where you guys are at night by like a lake. That one.
Exactly. Yeah, that was great because so going back to what we were saying earlier, right? We're always a group, right? So a couple about Kaito, since he's Max, right? He's never around for most of the battle scenes, right? Because he's Max. So there's not a lot of opportunities that, especially me, had to work with him, but everybody, he was with Mizuki most of the time, right? But
Well, I
and
wonder
so
why. It's not like there was this thing foreshadowed since the beginning of the show that
yeah,
Yagi told me about.
exactly. And so we were just glad, like, because we hung out, and by that time we had become super close and almost like family. And so we're like, oh man, this is actually great. We never get a chance to actually work together. This is really cool. We get our own little scene. So I remember this more from the sense of like actually what we said or what we did, but just the fact that like, there were no other actors there. It was night, so everyone else was like gone home, and it was just Kaito and myself just working together, and that was so fun and unique and fresh that that's what I remember. I remember it more about like being able to work with my friend for the first time, like seriously, than really the scene. So that's what stayed with me from that moment more than anything else,
All right.
actually. And the scene it turned out really cool. It was night, not a lot of nighttime scenes, and well lit. I remember it being well lit. That's all.
All right. Well, the next question I think we talked about a lot though, but you did verify throughout the course is that like for some reason a lot of people love the burnout syndrome joke, and I think episode
Yes.
31 a lot of people love that joke just because Ellie also breaks the fourth wall and goes burn out syndrome.
Yes.
And like she said it so beautifully in English too, like no accent, no nothing. And then everyone's just like, what the hell is that? And you have to explain it. So it's cool that you were explaining that a lot of the English was actually them afterwards, after you showed up and you were a part of the team. They're like, do it in English now. So that made a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Doing that
exactly.
scene.
So
Like a lot of people love it, man.
yeah, and that, okay, so that's what happens when, okay, you're doing something that starts off as like just a funny joke or an improvisation, but actually then becomes written into the script. So that burnout syndrome actually was like taking what we had started building and making it like, just a bigger part of the whole thing. So that was fun. And yeah, and Ellie and we practiced that pronunciation many times. And she did a great job. So that was awesome. Yeah.
So I'm guessing though, as the show went on though, right, that you were getting more screen time most likely just because of them getting more comfortable with you, I'm assuming.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Because as the
Yeah.
show gets on towards the later half, you get a lot of screen time.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it is, one of the things, if your character is easy to write, then you'll get written a lot more. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if a writer can understand your character and know, oh, okay, so this is what he would do, this is what he would say, then it becomes easier to write for them. And I think maybe at the beginning they were unsure what to do. And a lot of times, since I was the science officer, I think I said this in the last interview, is they had these crazy like scientific Japanese huge monologues that I had to say, and I think everyone was like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't have him be the one to do this because it's really hard for him. So it just kind of we kind of like graduated from that a little bit in the later episodes too.
Yeah, using burnout syndrome, I made a small little meme for Hero Club. I put it in the group chat that you see.
Nice.
I made that. I'm probably gonna post that up when we post up the interview with you.
Yes, let's do it.
But so
you want me to roll up the last couple questions?
if you
We
want
can
to do the
combine
last
these
one.
two into one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could probably roll these into one sound out. Because like
All right.
before you actually say it, the ending, right? The ending of Max, it was pretty interesting because when we interviewed Yagi, since we were doing both English and Japanese, he didn't want to reveal too much in his interview with us because the books were out in Japan and they were coming out and so it was hard for him. So he had to try to juggle how to say it so he didn't spoil books for people. But he knew though we weren't getting the books right away, but he hopes that we get the books. But it seems like we're not really getting the books just yet.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah,
and so like he had to like try to juggle. But he goes, I always intended for the ending to be the ending since day one when they were putting it together.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure if that was just a natural thing of the progression, because some shows do that. Others actually have it since day one. So Sana, take it away with the whole ending and we'll see what Sean has to say.
All right. So what would be your ending for Shaun White in the series? Since we only really saw Kaito Mizuki's ending. And then if there were to be like a Max reunion film or special, what would you want from that?
Okay, so there is an answer to this actually. And unfortunately, Max never got a movie, right? It was back in the day before, like now, every series, the series will be over and they'll get a movie. But back then they didn't really do that. They kind of started doing that with the next one after ours. So it was too bad. But there was an ending for Sean. So, okay, another little known thing is that Shaun White also created Ellie, right?
Oh, okay. I don't remember that being brought up in the show at all.
It never really got brought up because they didn't want to, like, it was kind of like weird, like, okay, he made Ellie, but
they were afraid that you made a robo waifu.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well,
Because
thank you.
there's a lot of episodes where there's the one where Pigmon inhabits her, and then there's the one where the captain tells Koba to like caress her, and you're like, you mean seduce, and like,
yeah, and
you
so
always say that you're jealous, and I'm like, wait, so Koba and Ellie are supposed to be a thing? And I'm like,
yeah, it was really weird, right? It was kind of like, so the idea was that, okay, so I was on loan from the North American
that's also a fact that slipped by me.
Yeah. So, and it was mostly because of, since Ellie was there, that I was kind of like just watching her and I could fix her and stuff like that if I had to. And so
this makes so much more sense now.
Yeah. What was going to happen is that I was going to go back to the US and I was actually going to become president of the United States.
Oh, God. No, sound out.
Wow.
No, sound out. Sound out. I fulfilled Sean's prophecy.
And then so as the years go by, I kept building more and more Ellies. So like when I was,
so you became Amuro with the Haro. You made me Ellie.
It was like I would like, so the scene that I was imagining is like I come back to Japan to visit everybody, and I'm on Air Force One, and the door to Air Force One pops out, and like hundreds of Ellies like pour out of the thing, and they're all like, someone's got my schedule, someone's got my, calling amazing. The ambassador of China or the all this kind of thing, and they're all kind of like helping me, support me, that kind of thing. So that was funny. That was Shaun White.
That's your ending is an army of Ellies to defend you.
Yes,
which makes sense. Okay, it sort of makes sense because like a little bit too much of Ellie in the show, which made me just think that they made you her mechanic and not her creator. They never. I don't think they ever state at all, and I could be wrong, but I don't think they ever.
No, they don't. They don't. And I often ask, I'm like, well, are we gonna say this? I mean, like I kind of, depending on how I interact with her, especially the part about Koba, when they kind of fall in love. Hey, am I her dad? Did I make her? Did I make her to be my wife? I'm like, we need to kind of like flesh this out a little bit more.
Has this ever been mentioned on any other stream? Oh man, we got an exclusive right here.
This is the secrets of Shaun White revealed is going to be like the tagline for the video.
The tagline is, no, it'll be like one of those weird clickbait photos of Ellie and Sean. I love you, didn't know.
Yeah, and like I also think that there was somebody, maybe there was something happening inside Tsuburaya that didn't want, like you said, to have me be like the creator or something.
Maybe they thought you were too young. Maybe they saw him and was like, he's too young to be making these robot waifus, man.
Yeah, something I know. It's kind of weird.
He's up to nefarious plots, like you're gonna like monopolize them and sell them. Clean your house, do your laundry, be your wife, watch your kids, be your assassin.
But to wrap this up, and Yagi-san and I often talk about this, is like, okay, well, now that you're 20 years, or no, I guess not 20, but 15 years older, maybe you could be the president. Why don't we have an Ultraman Max reunion movie, and like now, like, yeah, let's do it. So I know he's down to do it. I just don't know if Tsuburaya is down to do the budget, and I don't know.
Well, you could always get a crowdfunding going on.
There you go. Yeah, let's start that. I don't know if Ellie would accept this movie at this stage in her career.
No, you know how you do it. Grovel with the agency.
Exactly.
because
Right.
there's probably a part of her that wants to come back, but the agency says
Oh.
no. Like with like Kamen Rider Deno, he wanted to come back to Kamen Rider, but
Yep.
they wouldn't let him. So just grovel.
Yeah, she lives in the same neighborhood I live in, actually, and I see her walking around every now and then, and we say hi, and we go for a coffee now and then.
Oh man, it'd
so
be cool.
so we're still close. I mean, we still talk. I could still write to her right now and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" But she's really,
These losers in America want to say hi to you.
self-controlled. Yeah, I know. There's no way.
Yeah, I feel like our agency would sound like a SWAT team after us.
Yeah. Yagi, when he was writing the book, wanted to get her to write a chapter like everyone else, but her agency was kind of like, nah, we don't want to, we want to look at things going forward. We don't want to look back in time, that kind of thing. So
that's going to come back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah,
Let me tell you that.
Very short-sighted.
But no, thanks for coming and doing this interview again. We loved doing this. And whatnot. Hell, if we could do something one day in the future where we just do like a commentary thing where you watch an episode and tell us stuff, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. I mean, we did that a couple times with the
Ultraman Live.
Yeah. So that was really fun. So yeah, anytime, let's do it.
Man. Also, I think we asked everything, but the funny thing is though, when you said the president thing, I even said this Saturday, I said, yo man, if I somehow work with Ultraman, we just need to put Sean somewhere as a political power. And
yeah, there
sounds
we go.
like what, the president, all of a sudden, here's Sean.
Oh, so all right, good. Yeah, see, you were feeling the signs that were coming in.
Yeah, no, it's just funny because I've said this sound out for years. I'm like, if I ever somehow become a writer, like an actual writer for this stuff, I am finding ways to sneak people back into the franchise.
Yeah, well, it's cool. I mean, I think Max is a great series because it has all those callbacks, and it has all of those characters brought back as different people. So it's very multiversy, in the sense that it's the same person, but in this universe, they're kind of a different, character.
Yeah, and it also makes a lot of sense too because of how the multiverse now works. Of it's the land of light going to alternate realities. It now makes more sense how Max is from the land of light, but no one in that Earth actually recognizes any Ultraman before him.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's kind of funny, all right, how am I going to say this? What you're going to laugh, but Ultraman Max series is kind of the nexus of all of the. And it's not a pun. I want to use the word nexus for real.
Like a multiverse nexus.
Yeah, exactly. The multiverse nexus.
What we could say is these three idiots come together to create the true nexus. Because Nexus already said that he went to our Earth or Showa Earth and gave them the stone.
Yeah.
And we have this guy who went to Parallel Earth, where the three originals from the SSP still work together as an agency. And then we have this good boy here, who was supposed to be the poster child that never really took off.
Yeah.
He was the one starting to unite the people. And then there's Zero, who is the poster child, and Mr. Steal Your Girl. And I mean literally steal your girl because he stole Max's girl.
Okay. Oh, hey, by the way, I'm being called.
Yes, all right. But it's great.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Bye. And we'll see you all next time, guys. All right. This is Wheelchair 21 and Soundout.
Yep.
And we're ending this now because Sean had to leave.
Yeah, but check out Sean. Sean's got social media, right?
He's got social media.
He's got
Sean Kuhn. He's got Sean Kuhn.
Sean Kuhn on Twitter. And check out Ultraman Connection because he's doing stuff there, and we're glad we had him on.
For our second time.
So if you're checking this out for the first time and did not see part 1 of our Sean Nichols interview from a few months ago, go check it out. And stay tuned to Hero Club for more interviews and other cool stuff. So
it's hero-club.com and follow us across Hero at social media using Hero Club for Life, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, so on and so forth. So maybe we'll do other stuff with Sean later, like we said in this video. We hope to. And maybe we'll have other cast of Max show up one day if their agencies don't swat us first.
If anything, Sean's a great guy, and it's always great to talk to him.
Exactly, and we'll just go bother Yagi. I'm going to go bother Yagi right now.
But thanks so much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see y'all on the next interview.
Yeah, sure.